Right now on Upfront.
The final sprint.
We're gonna win this thing.
The 11th hour blitz.
To be your next governor.
The chaotic Democratic primary for governor.
I'm not here to protect the establishment.
Governor Evers on the campaign trail, the test of his political power just hours away.
For me, it's an easy one.
4 candidates still in the race.
Absolutely wild.
I think people have just started to check in.
And it all comes down to this. This Sunday, on the campaign trail, inside the final push for votes, the polls as primary election day nears, and betting on your ballot.
It's dangerous and it's unlawful.
The growing debate about voting in the popular prediction markets like Kalshi.
I'm almost speechless.
The big bet just moments away.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Less than 48 hours. Polls open Tuesday morning across Wisconsin. Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong leading in the polls. David Crowley attempting a major comeback. And Kelda Roys and Joel Brennan this weekend looking for a miracle.
The winner of Tuesday's primary is set to take on Republican Tom Tiffany as we head out on the campaign trail.
Governor Tony Evers, who maintains a nearly 90% approval rating among Wisconsin Democrats, emerging on the campaign trail these final days after endorsing David Crowley.
I think this looks like momentum.
And if the polling is anywhere near accurate, Crowley will need the lifeline to catapult him from a distant second after initially dropping out of the race and re-entering last month with the backing of Governor Evers.
There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to coalesce all the undecided voters in order to win in August 11th.
Governor, that's a lot of voters he's going to have to coalesce in these final days. He can do it because people are waiting for someone to talk about the issues.
The latest poll from State Navigate Friday shows Hong with a 22-point lead headed into the final hours in what may become an ever-growing test of the governor's political power.
What concerns you most about Francesca Hong? Do you think she can beat Tom Tiffany? I'm going to say this again. She spends a lot of time, from what I understand, talking on Twitter and all these other extraneous issues. Think about the question you just asked with people in this room who have seen tornadoes destroy their city, and we're going to spend time on that boat that others are talking about on Twitter. Please, I'm not going to, you can ask me 100 times, I'm going to give you the same damn answer. This issue is around getting things done.
Evers and Crowley sitting down with us Friday.
Was this a hard decision to jump in and endorse for you?
No. I knew that we had to do something in a really significant way. We knew we had a great candidate available to win this race. And no, I wanted to be relatively neutral, but at the end of the day, I felt it was important to get behind David and make sure that bring some people to the fore that will help him get across the finish line.
What was kind of the tipping point for you? Was it when Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez got out, or when Francesca Hong started to surge? What kind of?
It's hard to say. I mean, I've known David for a long time, and I guess in my heart of hearts, I was hoping he was going to win. Because, I didn't talk about it, but he's a really capable human being, and when I saw people leaving, coming back, for me, that was the time I had to play a role.
You've been a little ticked off, it seems, in recent days when people have talked about the establishment or establishment Democrats. Is this the establishment here trying to take down a Democratic Socialist?
Well, I think that when I've fought my entire life not to be labeled, not to be put into a box. And so to hear the establishment, it gets frustrating. It is frustrating because I've worked extremely hard to be where I am today. When I think about my parents and how they struggled with drug addiction and mental health to put food on the table, keep a roof over my head, I've never been here to protect the establishment. It's been to protect the people.
I have no idea what they mean by that, frankly. You think about, born and raised in a small town and, right down the road from here. And, I scraped cheese, mold off of cheese when I was in high school. That's Wisconsin, So the establishment, that is a really weak word to use.
Headed into Tuesday, what worries you most about Francesca Hong? Is it her electability going toward a general, or is it her policies?
For me, her whatever she does is of no consequence, frankly. You know, I think she's running for office, and you know, what it happens with her is that she's spending a lot of time talking about things that the people of Wisconsin don't really care all that much about, and so I don't. This race for me, and I know it is for David, is that it's about making headway for the people of Wisconsin. Simple as that. There's no establishment. There's no nothing. We talk about issues that are important for the people of Wisconsin.
What is the biggest threat coming from her and her campaign? She's created quite a movement among her supporters.
Well, let's be honest. The biggest threat is having a MAGA extremist occupying the White House like we do right now, but also the governor's office, right? The biggest threat is not having a candidate that can ultimately defeat Tom Tiffany moving forward.
Is that her?
We have to be focusing on the issues at the end of the day. Like, how do we make sure that we're fully funding our public schools? How do we hold these data centers accountable? How do we protect our air and our water? How do we protect our children moving forward? And so with this race, I don't look at my opponents as I'm running against them. I am running for every single vote of Wisconsinites across this state. And so I'm not focused on what everybody else has to say about my opponents. This is about how we win this election on August 11th. And when August 12th gets here, how we build the winning coalition to ultimately defeat Tom Tiffany.
You've got to beat her first, though, to do that.
Well, we have to make sure that we're talking to residents, right? And I think that, you know, beating any of these candidates is focusing on your policies, your vision, your mission for this state. And so, you know, I know that we're looking at and taking into account all the polls that we have seen, but we also have to, you know, after seeing what happened in Michigan, that means that we have to pause a little bit, because all of these polls have not necessarily been telling the truth.
What do you think Governor says about the state of the Democratic Party here in Wisconsin, or Wisconsin Democrats, that a Democratic Socialist has gained so much traction?
I think the Democratic Party of Wisconsin is as strong as it's ever been. It's a big tent. It's a lot bigger tent than the opponents, I will say that. And so, no, I don't think it says anything other than the making sure that we're serving the people of Wisconsin. It's simple as that. And David's the one to do that, frankly. It's quite clear.
Is all of this too little too late ahead of Tuesday?
Oh, gosh, no. I heard it yesterday at the State Fair by lots of people. Thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you so much for getting behind David Crowley.
If Francesca wins on Tuesday, will you support her and back her ahead of November?
She's a Democrat, of course, will be helpful, but that's not going to happen. This guy's going to win.
Same question for you.
Well, we have a duty. Our duty, no matter who is in this race, is ultimately to make sure that a Republican is not occupying the governor's office. And so I will back whoever it is, but the plan is to be the nominee.
Are you ready to win?
Francesca Hong coming off last weekend's rally in South Milwaukee with Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and controversial streamer Hassan Piker this weekend in the midst of a final get-out-the-vote blitz targeting more than a dozen cities through Tuesday.
When people want to fight for something together, when they see something they believe in and they start to believe in one another, I think the Dems are going to have to write a new playbook here.
Hong doing numerous national TV interviews in recent days, including Fox News, CNN, Politico, and the Pod Save America podcast. But her campaign telling Upfront, quote, Fran's schedule is back-to-back on the GoTV tour through Election Day, so we're not able to accommodate an interview this week. Right now, we're focused on talking directly with voters, end quote. Hong on CNN.
We want to make sure here in Wisconsin that this is an election that voters decide. But Wisconsin is unique. We have Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin. It's pretty hard to measure and understand where our voters are, but that's Fortunately, we've held over 350 events, have knocked over 100,000 doors, and have a great understanding of what voters care about, and that's permanent affordability and a Wisconsin government that cares for everyone.
Hong in these final days facing increasing national attention and scrutiny over old social media posts, including one in 2020 calling to cancel Thanksgiving.
Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve.
Then, during a Wednesday interview with Politico, Hong said she in fact loves Thanksgiving.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. Because I
There
love
you have it.
Thanksgiving. Yep. I don't want to cancel it. I actually love it.
Do you believe that you need moderate voters to win the general election if you do win the primary?
We absolutely need every single vote, and we'll be fighting to earn every single vote. And I've talked to moderates and independents, Republicans, folks who don't have a political home right now, and they have a lot of concerns about what's going on in the state, and they also have concerns about things I've said in the past. But what we're focusing on and how to come together to actually deliver for Wisconsinites, and that's going to be electing Democrats down and up the ballot this cycle.
For those of you who don't know me, I'll give you a little Kelder Roy's 101.
Kelder Roy's also crisscrossing the state, here in Burlington, meeting with a group of voters.
At this point, what is your path to victory 1 week from where we stand next Tuesday?
After the debate, we've had a huge surge of support for my campaign, donors, activists, yard sign requests. So I'm going to continue traveling the state, answering questions from voters all over the state about their priorities. And I think that this is a late-breaking race. People want a governor who can beat Tom Tiffany and who's ready to govern on day one.
Do you still think from people you're talking to there are a lot of undecideds out there?
I think so, but I think a lot of them are breaking my way. We've certainly seen that after other candidates have withdrawn, that I've been able to earn the endorsements of their donors and their supporters.
How would you describe the state of this race in the final week?
Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Totally unpredictable. And I would say just get ready for surprises. I mean, this is what primaries are for. We do not have to accept the idea that dark money is going to buy this primary. I think Wisconsinites have really rejected that notion before. When Elon Musk came in and tried to buy a Supreme Court seat, we said no. And we should certainly reject the idea that Republican dark money is going to influence this primary too.
Joel Brennan and his family voting early in downtown Milwaukee.
Hi there.
How are you?
What is the realistic path to victory next Tuesday?
Well, there have been, and you have seen the twists and turns over the last couple of weeks. There are ways that elections change in the last few days. Like, you know, I had the honor of being on the debate stage with you a week ago today. And since that time, I have had numerous outreach from people all around the state saying, you know, we didn't know that much about you, but we saw you there. We like what you have to say. We think that you're the best opportunity to beat Tom Tiffany and Donald Trump in the fall and to hit the ground running on day one in January. And that's the message I'm going to continue to spread.
I've heard, I'm curious, are you receiving any pressure from Democrats to drop out in this next week?
I'm hearing, I have conversations with Democrats all the time. Most of the Democrats I am talking to about voting in the primary here and what the path to victory is for Democrats in November.
What do you make of the governor on the campaign trail for now, David Crowley, Francesca Hong, where she is in the poll? I mean, how would you characterize where the state of the race is 1 week out?
I think it's been in flux over the last 3 to 4 weeks. I think it was a situation where not many people were paying attention to this race up until just a few weeks ago. That's why you see reflected in the polling so many undecided voters, and I think people have just started to check in, and that's to my benefit.
All right, polls open Tuesday morning. Up next, the big bet. State election officials warning voters about using popular prediction markets like Kalshi. The company is here, now firing back.